So, good morning and welcome to this webcast by MFS and P Lounge. Today I want to talk about how we can achieve a real-time HMI design in VRED 2024. And so I want to show you how we can have real-time editing, how we can stream designs directly from design tools, in this case Figma, and how we can achieve fast iterations for designs. But first I want to tell you something about myself. My name is Christopher Gebhardt. I'm one of the founders of Ideenkultivierung GmbH, a design studio located in Germany. I'm a software engineer and I started in the automotive industry, where I worked on visualizations of head-up displays. So one of my tasks was to implement early prototypes of new kind of navigation systems for head-up displays. And my experience with Autodesk VRED is mainly by implementing workflows, implementing plugins to support workflows like automatic data prep, like automatic shading. And I also did collaboration with Autodesk, where I did video tutorials on Python development. At Ideenkultivierung, we have over 10 years experience in visualization, and we do visualization on the whole spectrum. So we do technical visualizations, we do marketing visualizations, and we also combine this with engineering, with software development, and also we do trainings on certain topics or webcasts like this, tutorials. There are some of our projects. So you can see there is product design. There we have still images and video rendering for marketing, but we also have technical visualizations on fair trades. We do architecture, and we also develop apps, sometimes websites. We do plugins, for example for Rhino, for Cinema 4D, or for VRED. Now let's talk about what challenges we are facing when we're talking about HMI development. So there is a trend to put more displays in a car. So the HMIs get increasingly complex. So this is an example from Mercedes, where they have the whole dashboard, where they have like 3 monitors, displays where they can show interface elements. And with all the driving assistance and security features, you also have a lot of stuff you have to put in your HMI design. And you have connections to your phone, you want to play your music library from your phone, you want to watch movies, you want to play games. So it gets more and more complex to navigate and design these HMIs. And it's a real challenge to keep these HMIs manageable for drivers. So drivers want to perform certain tasks in a car, and they have to navigate the HMI to do them. So there is a need to do user studies and tests on these HMI designs. And there are also design changes to the displays itself, to the surface data of the car, and you want to keep up with these design changes. So you want to basically test your HMI designs as early as possible in an environment where you have your surfaces of the car, where you have the latest CAD data. And you want to evaluate your HMI designs directly in the car. There are different setups where you can test your HMI design. So you have a controlled lab situation where you put some test subjects, for example, in front of a monitor or tablet, and see how they interact with the navigation structure of the HMI. But you also want them to sit in a real car, in virtual reality in a car, and then perform these steps as well. So and you also want to see if all HMI elements are visible to the driver in any driving position you have. So let's look at a typical design workflow for HMI design. This is taken from Pascal Seifert's presentation about HMI design in VRED from 2017, just a few years ago. And he defines these 4 steps. So at first we have the concept design, where we start with sketches, where we define some icons, some first graphics, where we decide on a look and feel. The digital design model already adds animation, timing and speed, improved look and feel, and where the first click dummies are implemented, and where we have a navigation structure. This is also the place where we first have some user studies to test our designs. The next big step is we integrate these designs in hardware mockups. These are typical seating bugs like we saw on the slide before, and there we are also able to test our designs with click dummies, and we also can have our designs in virtual reality visualizations. And this is the next step for user studies. So we have users that perform actions in an environment that is very close to the real world. Then a step further, we integrate engineering, so we can integrate different hardware parts of the car, like we can integrate buttons that trigger some actions in our HMI or in our virtual reality environment. We can integrate something like light, steering wheel animations, and so on. For this webcast, we want to focus on the first 3 steps, and our goal is to make it possible to evaluate designs, HMI designs, as early as possible. We want to improve the ability to have discussions directly in a virtual reality setup, where we can discuss about designs and change them on the fly. And we want to enable fast iterations from design changes back into the virtual reality setup. Now let's look at some existing workflows. So integrating designs or HMI designs in VRED is nothing new. So they introduced this feature, I think, in 2017. Maybe it was even earlier than that. And this basically works that VRED has integrated web engines, which is basically a browser runtime. And in this browser runtime, we can run any HTML website or web app that we can run locally on our own server, or from the internet, where we stream the HTML web app into this web engine. Then we can connect this web engine with a material, and this material is then used to display the website onto our display geometry. I will show you how this works later in this presentation, but for now, this is how VRED integrates these HMI designs. So the most basic implementation you could have, you could implement your designs in a custom HTML website or web app. And you can implement a navigation structure where you can click on it, where users can interact with it. And then it's possible in VRED, when you stream this web app, that you can really interact with this website inside VRED. So you click on one of these icons, and then you go to another page. And this also works in virtual reality. So you can take your controller or your finger, press on an icon, and then some action happens. The advantage of this approach is that you can have a really simple event messaging from your HTML website to VRED. So for example, you could link a button to an action that you have saved in a variant set in VRED. So you click a button, then a variant set is activated, you play some animation, you change light settings or whatever, but this also works the other way around. So you could play a variant set, select a variant set in VRED, and have changes reflect in the HTML website in your HMI. The disadvantage of this very basic approach is that it's really resource intensive to set up and maintain. You need some kind of framework, a toolkit to assist you in this. Well, of course you can implement an HTML website. This is not difficult. This is very easy. But if you want to integrate this in your workflow over months of work, you need some frameworks where you can easily integrate your designs, where you can change navigation structure, where you can implement animations and so on. So this is another solution. This was introduced, there was a collaboration from Qt and Autodesk in 2020, where they showed a workflow using Qt Design Studio. And what they did, from my understanding, they did some designs in design tools like Figma or Sketch. Then they integrated these designs into Qt Design Studio, where they were able to add animations and also integrate simulation data. From this, they exported a web app that they could then stream in VRED. And they also have a simple event messaging where they can send messages from VRED to Qt to reflect changes that are happening in your VRED scene, and vice versa. So you could also send messages from your HMI to VRED, for example, to trigger some variant sets. But the disadvantage is that we do not really have real-time editing in this. So the designs are pre-made and then imported in Design Studio. So we have a few extra steps here, and we have an additional tool in our workflow. In this case, it's Qt Design Studio, and you also need some software engineers to implement your event messaging and also to create your web app. Now I want to show you a workflow where we use Figma to have a real-time HMI design inside VRED. First I want to show you how it works. So there we have a car model where we have an HMI display, and on the left side we have a Figma project. This is a public community project what I'm using. I have a link to this project in my slides. And what I can do now, so we'll just zoom in a little bit. What I can do now, we have directly linked this Figma template to our VRED implementation. And what I can do now, I can edit this Figma design in real time. So I can move the elements, I can reposition them, and I also can, for example, change colors. So I can change its colors here. I can change text and whatever. Every change I make in Figma is directly streamed into VRED. What's also nice about Figma is that we can have really complex navigation structures, so click dummies, that we can build up in Figma. And there I have another example. So there haven't been so much HMI public examples with navigation structure, so we're using an also publicly available app prototype here. And this is shown here on our right side. And this is the second web engine I'm using to stream a different project into VRED, into the same scene. And there I can interact with this Figma design. So I can click on the screen. This would also work in VR. and then I can test my design. So this Figma design is more representative of an actual design workflow you would see in Figma. And this is really great. So you can quickly build a click dummy with navigation. You can change your navigation structure on the fly. So when you test this in a virtual reality setup with different people, you can discuss about ideas. You can directly implement those ideas during your VR session and make changes on the fly. So how does it work? So basically in VRED we have the media editor, and in the media editor you can create web engines. And here I have created 2 web engines where I linked our Figma design to this web engine. And then I have 2 materials. Oh no, this is the media editor. I have 2 materials that I stream that I'm using for streaming the web engine. And then these materials are just put on our geometry. The last step, what you have to do is you have to define proper UV maps for your geometry. So if I'm looking on this, there the UV map is stretched onto the whole area of the UV map from 0 to 1, and then you can properly align your web engine texture to the geometry. On the Figma side, we are using the presenter mode. So if I open the presenter mode, I get a preview link where I can preview my design. There I can interact with the design. So this is the view that we are streaming into VRED. And this uses the same mechanics that we are using for simple HTML websites or web apps. The same thing that is using Qt design or other design tools that stream content directly into VRED. So it would be nice to send... Oh, no, there's another slide. So this is basically the setup. So we have we are streaming the Figma preview into a VRED web engine, and in VRED we have to export UV maps for our geometry on our display, and then we use these UV maps to basically build a template in Figma. This is mostly necessary for displays that are not rectangular, that have more unique shape, like in our sample car, and then we can integrate our design onto this template. So it would also be nice to have some event messaging between VRED and our Figma design. So for Qt Design Studio, this basically works like this, that you have some implementation in Qt Design Studio. In their demonstration, they are using WebSockets, I guess, and then you have your implementation on the local network. So therefore, it's very easy to send messages to VRED and from VRED to Qt. And with this, you can implement things like you can change for example, the brightness of the interior lights in the car on your HMI interface. Or you could trigger a button in your VRED scene and reflect those changes in the HMI. With Figma and VRED, it gets a little bit more complicated. So Figma is running in the cloud. So therefore we cannot directly send messages to VRED or vice versa. So we need a server that relays our messages. This can be not any protocol, because Figma is also quite limited in what you can use in your custom widgets and plugins that you need for this. And then in theory you can send messages from Figma to VRED. So at least this was the plan for this webcast. But turns out it's more complicated than that. So first of all, Figma is quite limited in its access to certain JavaScript APIs. So you can send messages to a server, but you have to basically implement your own protocol or use like package managers and packet bundlers to put them into your widget. But the bigger problem here is that first of all, you need to use widgets to implement some custom messaging system. But the problem is that these widgets and plugins do not work in the Figma presenter mode. And the presenter mode is exactly what we are using to stream into VRED. I can demonstrate that. So I did an example. It's Figma, yeah. So I tried some stuff. First of all, I built a widget that we see here. This is a simple button widget which I can turn on and off. And from this button widget, I sent a message to a server that is picked up in VRED. So when I navigate to this site, so we see that interior light is off, interior light off. When I push this button, I send a message to a server. VRED picks up this message and reacts on this message. In this case, I'm sending the message, turn on the interior light. And this change can be reflected in VRED. But unfortunately, it is not possible to directly click in VRED on this button and have the same effect, because this widget is unfortunately not working. And what about the other way? Can we send messages from VRED to Figma and react on, for example, a variant set? This is also not possible, because widgets only can receive messages when you interact with them, when you click on them. So you can't have a background loop that is constantly receiving messages. So maybe they are opening up their API in the future. Figma has also a lot of plugins from the community. So maybe there are some solutions out there. For example, maybe there are presenter modes, custom presenter modes that bypass these restrictions on widgets. It's also possible to turn your Figma design into an HTML code or into a HTML app, but then you lose the aspect of the real-time editing, which is really nice, and that's what we are here for. So, to summarize, I showed you how we can have real-time editing of HMI designs using Figma inside VRED. This also works in VR sessions, and we can have a real-time discussion about HMI designs and change aspects of our designs while we are watching them. We can evaluate HMI designs, we can test our navigation, and this is quite a simple setup. So any designer can implement this. You don't have to have a software engineer to help you with this integration. And Figma probably makes it also possible to conduct user studies with the tools they provide. And you generally have very fast iterations using this setup. Another few advantages, you don't need separate tools, like for example when you look at a Qt Design Studio workflow, you have some steps in between, so you can really just stream your design you're doing with Figma anyways directly into VRED. And this workflow is probably also adaptable to other design tools like Sketch or any other online-based design tools that are out there. But there are also some disadvantages. Unfortunately, it is not possible yet to have simple event messaging between Figma and VRED. So we have limitations. We cannot use custom Figma widgets in our Figma presenter mode that we are using. Maybe these restrictions are overcome in the future. Maybe there are plugins around that make it possible right now. But yeah, for this webcast, unfortunately it was not possible to integrate this solution like I would have liked it. And also, yeah, you can have animations in Figma. You have a lot of plugins to do animations. Most of the animations are based on some interaction with the HMI. You can have time-based animations there with use of plugins, but it would also be nice to use simulation data, for example, from a driving simulation to show the current speed of the car. Or to integrate other aspects of your driving simulation into your HMI. So Figma, this Figma workflow is mostly suited when you, in your early design stages, when you want to have fast iterations, when you want to have real-time editing of your designs in virtual reality, and then at later design stages you most likely have to integrate another toolkit or framework that you can integrate animations that react on changes in your driving simulation or in your VRED setup. So thank you very much for your attention. That's all I have for you today. Here are the additional resources. So I used there are two designers that put their designs in the community section of Figma that I used. This first one was the HMI-design that we saw, and the app demo that I used. Thank you very much.